Welcome back to the AI Powered Marketing Show, where we explore the intersection of artificial intelligence with cutting edge digital marketing strategy. I'm your host, Keith Bell. If you are a digital marketer, an entrepreneur, or a tech enthusiast, you are in the right place. So, today we are stepping into the supervillain lair of none other than Jessie James Wroblewski. As a veteran marketer for a renowned New York agency, Jessie transformed his 3-decade career to pen Marketing for Supervillains. Get ready to uncover the secrets of becoming a marketing supervillain with the CEO and self proclaimed differentiator supervillain and de-commoditized. We'll explore Jessie's revolutionary vision and how it challenges conventional norms of the marketing world.
Hey, digital marketers, entrepreneurs, and tech enthusiasts. Ready to elevate your AI game? Check out the AI-powered marketer newsletter from Keith Bell, host of the AI-powered marketing show. The AI-powered marketer newsletter is your go-to resource, packed with actionable insights, cutting-edge tools, and the latest news in AI and digital marketing. Whether you're optimizing sales funnels, exploring new AI strategies, or staying ahead of industry trends, this newsletter has you covered. Don't miss out on the chance to supercharge your marketing efforts. Subscribe now. Just click the link in the show notes to sign up today, and remember, the future of marketing is here and it's powered by AI. See you in the newsletter.
Hey, Jessie, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you? Excited to do this one in particular today.
Yeah, I'm digging the chainsaw, the lair. Tell me about the lair.
So this is the actual home office, not the supervillain lair, believe it or not.
Okay.
So I have a lot of collections. This one I found suitable for my home office. Love all vintage carnival stuff. I find like carnivals are like this hyper focused marketing funnel that gets you right through the entire thing. So I can speak on that, but everything in my background, for those that can't see, is all actual used vintage carnival paraphernalia.
Oh, that's so cool. So tell us a little bit about your company and kind of the impetus for, why you started it and why you started this. Can I use the word cult? Is that
people ask me what my goal for the future is, and I say, you know what, I wouldn't mind being a cult leader.
World domination.
I want to be the Tyler Durden of marketing.
Yeah, but I want to talk about that concept a little bit after you do your obligatory hi. I'm Jessie.
Yeah. So greetings, everyone. I am Jessie Wroblewski. For 25 years, I have been running for lack of a better term, a generalist marketing agency called Generations Beyond. And I got tired of being known as a generalist. When COVID hit, I'm sure like a lot of people, they did took a step back, did some soul searching. And I basically went through my 25 years of marketing and figured out, what was the most rewarding thing that I've ever done, not only for me, but what made my client at that time the most money. And I realized that, taking something, in this particular case, something super, super boring, and injecting so much life into it that it was able to stand head and shoulders above their competitors. So I found that I actually like working with companies that are on the brink or already are commoditized, meaning their customers can't really tell the difference between how special they are and how special their competitors are. So I came up with the concept of becoming de-commoditized, and my personal brand is located at de-commoditized.com, which is where we take companies that are currently on a race to the bottom, cutting their prices and kind of injecting them with something special that kind of brings back that original pride they had when they first started their business, and they were the only ones that could help their clients and solve their problems, instead of being asked, well, why is it this much? Because I can get it from this guy from that much. Basically helping them get back to that leadership position in their industry.
Yeah, I think you tell a story in your book, which I've read 3 times now.
Wow, very flattering.
It was definitely for me, I come from a direct response marketing background, and everything is based on the psychology of the funnel and driving action and things like that. And we put so very little into our personal brand and what our brand's about. And this was eye-opening for me. But I think in there you talk about, didn't you get a phone call from somebody that was like desperately, I think it's towards the end of the book, and you talk about, can you talk about that phone call a little bit?
Yeah. So being in the industry that I'm in, basically I'm a marketer, but people see me as a guy on a computer, right? So I was the type of guy that never said no. And to the point where someone would call me and be like, hey, my secretary has a virus on our computer. Can you help me? I'm like, that's not really what I do. And you're never going to get a starring role if people think you do everything to everyone. So I started developing my personal brand, leaning on those special projects that I was able to do something really unique. And I got a call from somebody, a long-time relationship, and they said, hey, we have this challenge. We are in a boring industry. We need to stand out. We need to break through the white noise and smack people in the face with our messaging. And the fact of the matter is we're in a pretty boring industry, the direct mail industry. And they said, if anybody can do it, you're the only guy that could do it. And that was like the lightning moment. Like I finally achieved my...
Man, I think the only thing more boring than that is tire manufacturing. So, but while we're on the subject, I wanted to know if we could talk a little bit about water.
One of my favorite topics, the ultimate commodity.
So we've got water here. That's our Deer Park water. We've got my old favorite, Smart Water, which is vapor distilled.
Ooh,
and da-da-da.
Favorite.
I just went out and got a can of this today, because I want to also illustrate that when you give better value, you can charge more.
Very true. Very true.
$1.49, $2.49. So so talk a little bit about the Liquid Death brand, and I don't know if you had involvement in the Liquid Death brand, but I just thought it was a great illustration from your book that we could talk about.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many lessons to be pulled from water, right? Number one being, if you're in an industry and you're like, well, there's nothing really special about us, everybody kind of does it the same way. If you think about it, most of the time you're not selling what you're actually selling, right? So we're in the developed world. Water is literally free. And you say, oh, you can't drink it out of the faucet. Like, no, there's been plenty of tests that drinking water from the faucet is just as good as bottled water, right?
Hell, I used to drink it out of the hose.
Yeah, back in the day, right?
Remember kids, we used to drink it from the hose?
Yeah, absolutely.
All the Gen Xers and millennials are like, oh.
Yeah. But getting back to that point, a lot of the times the stuff you sell is not the stuff that you're actually selling. So you look at water. Why don't you fill a bucket up every morning and just carry it to work with you every day? It's free. But instead, I forget the number. I think it was $17 billion spent on water last year. So are you really selling water, or are you selling convenience? I don't want to carry a bucket around with me everywhere I go. Or you have a bottle of water in your car, but it's warm, and you stop at the gas station and they have a nice ice cold refrigerated bottle of water. Are you paying for water, or are you paying for refrigeration? So there's a lot of what we call byproducts in what you do. So if you find that you can't sell what you're actually selling, look into the byproduct. Are you selling convenience? Are you selling refrigeration? Are you selling it? It's just there when you need it. But getting further down the pipeline, we have our favorite examples of becoming de-commoditized. So again, you have the ultimate commodity, water. It's usually free everywhere you go. How are people charging so much money, and how do they get a premium on that brand that they created? So this little brand called Liquid Death, they found an unserved portion of the audience. The owner said, every single bottle of water out there looks like a yoga accessory. right? They're all designed to be very pretty, to go with your yoga mat. Everybody's, meditating while they drink their water. He said, there's plenty of people out there that, came up like me, punk rock, hardcore stuff, that edgy lifestyle. And he admits the company is 90% punchline, but, to be ultra corny, he's the guy laughing all the way to the bank. So he created this brand against kind of the opposite of what you'd expect in the water industry. And even though he only sold $50 million worth of water the past year, which is nothing to shake a stick at, the brand is worth $500 million, right?
Sure.
So imagine 10x valuation on something that everybody can get for free just by creating this niche down, very focused lifestyle brand that's entertaining. It's a punchline, as the owner says, but he created a lifestyle brand around water.
Yeah. So for all those that are listening and can't see this because you're listening, so it's Liquid Death. And I want to kind of just describe, everybody's familiar with Deer Park water, the cheesy plastic bottle. And I know the brand you're referring to, Voss water, is the epitome of yoga water. It's got the cool little gray cap on the top, and you can take it and do your downward dog and all that stuff and drink your water. But I drink smart water. I don't know why, it doesn't make me any smarter, but anyway, Liquid Death is in a tall boy can, just like you're drinking a beer. Okay. It's got great artwork on there. It's got a skull. It says on there, mountain water, natural artesian water. Okay, nothing great there. And at the very bottom on the tagline, it says, murder your thirst, which I thought was pretty amazing. But I took it a step further, Jesse. I went on their website, and they've created a whole culture, like niche culture around their water. Like, talk a little bit about that.
Yes, I mean, I'm willing to bet a lot of it is, strictly out of passion, right? So one of my favorite things that they've done is they've taken all of their hate mail and they've converted it to lyrics and put out heavy metal CDs based on everybody else's, right? But yeah, I mean, it's once you identify kind of your voice as a brand and it's so clear, it's so much easier to create those campaigns and those cultures, right? So I think Mike, the owner, says, we ask ourselves one question every time we put something out, and it's, would Slayer think this is cool? And I think that's just a great barometer to be like, when I'm putting stuff out.
Is that their customer avatar, Slayer?
Yeah, I think so, right? So whether it's a high watermark to achieve or the perfect avatar, I think it's a great exercise for anybody that owns a brand coming up with that qualifying question of everything they put out into the world.
Well, what I thought was especially cool was when I went on there, like they have a store. You can buy swag, you can buy this, you can buy that, but you can also buy a country club membership. And when you click on the button, it says you can buy a country club membership for $125,000, or you can sell your soul, which I thought was like really, really like off the beaten path. So, but that to me, looking at that, they took something that, like you said, water. That's like everybody needs it, and they took it and they're charging $2.49 a can, and they're getting it. This was the last can.
Yeah.
At a local Wawa. So, so in reading your book, I discovered that you are a big movie fan, just like I am.
Speak fluent quotes.
Yeah, I like sometimes I'll find in life that movies have really shaped who I am as a person and kind of define who I am as a person. But the other thing is I'm discovering this as I get older, the link between movies and music. How music, I can remember a particular movie. Why? Because it had this music in it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
talk a little bit about, you talk in the book about the Toxic Avenger, and is it Trauma Films?
Trauma. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, can you tell a little bit about their studio?
Sure. So the owner of Trauma Studios is named Lloyd Kaufman, and he's always kind of been like a hero of mine because he's always done things way off the beaten path, right? And while he may not be, rolling in the riches, he stays true to himself, and he's always putting out a consistent brand with the cheesy B movies that he puts out. So, I mean, his book, Everything I Learned in Life, I Learned from the Toxic Avenger, was, one of those things that defined me as a child, raising that outlier banner and giving me something to follow. But also, now that time has gone on, right? So in the beginning of Trauma 40 years ago, he deliberately wanted to create the anti-superhero, right? So while all the big studios were chasing the Supermans and the Batmans and the predictable ones, he took it to the opposite level. And even though the hero is truly the hero, he does things in a different manner. He rips people's arms off, beats them with it. He has a disgusting mouth that he uses as a weapon. And then moving further down the line, he had a protege named James Gunn, that basically started in the basement as far as movie studios can go, Trauma. Fast forward a couple of years today, James Gunn is now I call him the president of nerddom, right? They gave him the keys to the DC universe, right? So literally from the basement to the penthouse, there's probably no higher position in film that you can achieve than James Gunn. So a lot of little lessons there in the book. I align trauma with the differentiator cause alignment. Right, everybody's quick to attach themselves to a cause. Lloyd did it through the appreciation of underseen films, and by doing that and truly, resonating with what he does and his audience, he was able to attract a very young James Gunn. And that now he's part of that lineage of movie history, which is now the creme de la creme. And his movie from 40 years ago, Toxic Avenger, just got purchased for a remake by a big Hollywood studio because everyone realizes that, superheroes have become a commodity. Every superhero movie is the same. We need something different. So now they're turning to the guy that they kind of turned their backs on 40 years ago. So he's kind of coming into his own as well.
Do they have like we talked about with Liquid Death? Do they have that kind of have they created that culture like around their brand? And do they have
they have massive cult following. The owner, the CEO, Lloyd, if you have an independent film and you want him to star in it, he will, no questions asked. All you have to do is pay for his time, his travel. So talk about being committed to what you say you're committed to. Helping the unseen directors get their movies seen, literally putting his own body and his brand on the line and being willing to star in a movie. No questions asked.
Yeah, and we had this conversation on the phone the other day. There's about a 10-year gap in our age, but for me, growing up as a kid, the big thing was Rocky Horror Picture Show. And you talked a little bit, you've seen it, right?
Yep.
So the Rocky Horror created this amazing subculture of people. And I told you the story about my friend that tried to take the chainsaw in and started it up, and he wound up getting arrested and we got kicked out. But does like Rocky Horror, and then I think of the band Kiss, where they created, and we're talking about some pretty over the top brands here.
Right.
Did they kind of create that subculture too with like Rocky Horror Picture Show?
Yeah, probably not as ubiquitous as Rocky Horror. It's a little bit more underground, but they have like their own version of Netflix called Trauma Now, where you subscribe and get access to a massive catalog of underseen movies. And I think probably there's a great introduction from Trey Parker from South Park in the beginning of Lloyd's book, because they gave him the rights to their first movie, their college movie, Cannibal the Musical. So there's definitely kind of like that underground credibility and respect where the creators of South Park were like, Troma is the place for our independent film.
Yeah. So, yeah, I was I just was amazed at some of the, some of the things that I saw on the Troma um, site. You know, so it's mostly like old horror films, right? Or do they have like a
It
mix of everything?
Yeah, they have a mix of everything, but they really focus on, over the top B movie horror, almost deliberately, like I could see the wire, hanging, controlling the UFO, like almost deliberately tongue in cheek, wink at the camera bad.
Mm-hmm.
But in a sense, very good. So if you have that sensibility where, so bad it's good type of movies, definitely the place for you.
Yeah, kind of like for me, the big thing was like the Saturday afternoon B sci-fi movies. I was really big into like, the Incredible Growing. Was it the Incredible Growing Man? I think it was, and the guy,
Yeah,
or the
yeah,
the
yeah.
Incredible and the Swamp Thing, and just like some of the movies were like really, really like cheesy, tacky. My kids would watch it and they're like, "What are you doing?" But
It's the alternatives. I think we spoke about, every movie is formulaic, right? When the hero's going to reach
yep,
his peak, right? Troma is the place for no formula. So if you're tired of the formula, you burnt out on movies, that's where you go for a little shake up.
yeah, and you talk, and I think you talk a little bit too about um, Seinfeld. How Seinfeld was, I mean, truly was a show about nothing,
Uh-huh.
and it was probably one of the most successful, if not the most successful, sitcoms that are out there because you know being a kid, that's all, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have, Netflix. We had the TV. You had 3, 6, and 10, maybe
Yeah.
17, maybe 29. But you watch the same things over and over again. And it's like, man, you got to a point where when your mom said, go outside and play, you went outside and played because you were bored senseless,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So, but,
And we had reruns. When was the last time you rewatch an episode you saw already? Everything's
oh
on
my God.
demand.
What's funny is I discovered on Roku a channel called Tubi, and
Yeah.
you can get old what was I watching the other day? The $6 Million Man. I was watching the $6 Million Man the other day, and I'm like, kind of brought back memories of when I was a kid. But your book kind of like it really made me evaluate like uh, if you and I were friends when we were kids, you probably you know would probably have several near death experiences with me because being a guy with ADHD, I did things like see if I could jump the railroad tracks with my Datsun B210. Um, I had a keg of beer fly out of the sunroof of my car. And the scary thing, folks, the scary thing is I was a police officer for 25 years. They gave me a gun and a badge. And they said, go arrest people. Okay. So they missed that on my psychological evaluation. But anyway, I want to talk to you a little bit about the impact of AI. And, I'm in the process of doing a series right now where I talk about, the influence that AI has had on marketing, both good and bad. And it's my
Mhm.
understanding you told me that you're on a task force. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I think in this exact point of time, particularly in the agency space, people are scared. A lot of agencies are scared. They hear rumblings about AI. They don't know what it is or what's going to come or who's going to come take their jobs. So I consult for a larger agency than my own. And every week, 2 times a week, we just get together and, this is what came out. This is what I found. This is what we found. This is how we can monetize it, and just kind of stay on the cutting edge of what's going on in the world of AI. So I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but I think I could chop it up with the best of them as far as a decent conversation. As far as, go ahead, Matt.
No, I was just going to say, yeah. I mean, it's. I think of the Terminator. The Terminator is the classic example of artificial narrow intelligence, and you can look at his development. I actually did a podcast episode on this. You can look at his development from the very first movie was back in 1986 through up to where he's self-aware, has emotions, and can make decisions on his own, and the whole Skynet thing. And I think sometimes people get that perception when it comes to AI. And it is scary. It causes some anxiety, and I definitely get that. So, how do you feel about like AI with you've been in the business for 30 years?
Yes, I mean AI right now is synonymous with efficiency, and in no way synonymous with innovation. Right, so it can iterate an ad that you've written or a social media post 100 different ways. But coming up with new stuff or new ideas, being innovative, if I told you, hey, I have a magazine that was 100% written by AI, you'd probably like, I don't want to read that magazine. It's good. There's nothing in there for me, right? So there's no innovation. It's all efficiency. And when it comes to marketing, and with all the stuff you're talking about, and I totally agree, there's some apocalyptic possibilities here. So it seems foolish to talk about social media, but if you remember, in the beginning of social media, all the platforms, they were begging everyone to join. Please join. Please post, create content. They had commercials on it. They want you to post pictures of your grandkids so your grandparents would, and your parents would join. And then all of a sudden something happened. There was too much content. So they introduced the dreaded algorithm that we all live our lives by, right? We're all trying to get more views, trying to trick that algorithm. And now it's to the point where you're getting barely any views because Facebook, Instagram, all these big platforms, they know what keeps you on their platform. And it's usually bigger, more successful content from bigger creators. So they're saying, you post your stuff, we'll show it when we feel it's necessary, but we're really going to cater to the bigger platforms and the bigger creators. Now you come into a point where AI can take your content and exponentialize every post by 100. If there was too much content before, with AI, there's going to be way too much content, for anyone to see anything. So I think there's going to be a monumental shift in both how businesses utilize social media and AI, how it affects our personal lives and getting our actual posts seen by the people we want to see it. So I don't think AI is going to assist in any way of helping all of us get our voices out there on the smaller independent side of things.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm really trying to adapt this to my brand in that I want to strike a balance between my personal innovation and using AI to be more efficient. And I want to do it in a ethical and moral way. But I still wrestle with the fact that, people like you who have come before me, the entire large language model that I work with, like, for example, ChatGPT, was trained on data created by people like you. And I have a hard time with that because, I want to be original and innovative and make change in the world. But then I say, well, I'm using AI, but I'm benefiting from somebody else's work. It's almost like disingenuous in that respect. So that's a personal thing that I have to try to wrestle with, is having that, balance between the two. So,
yeah. I mean, as far as, it being the basis of the influence of what we do, I mean, I could make the argument, and I'm very pro this argument if you couldn't figure it out, if I came to you for a crazy, outlandish ad, chances are Rocky Horror Picture Show probably, molded your mind and ultimately will have influence on what that end looks like. So,
Right.
there's different levels of influence and environment that play a factor. But I think ultimately, without all of that stuff filtering through Keith's brain, Keith's brain is the nexus of all that to get the final outcome.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that, because then I say, well, the things that I've done in my life, the things I've experienced in my life, they all play a part in my creativity, and certainly have made a difference. And I totally agree with you on it's made me more efficient and more productive. I just did an episode the other day, where I talked about we can't lose our humanity. Who we are. We can't let AI make us lose our humanity. And I think that's probably the most critical thing. There was one other thing I wanted to ask you about. Oh, our favorite person to talk about, Weird Al.
Yes, sir.
How did Weird Al, how did he influence you in your creativity?
So, then there's so many examples, obviously, of the life that he led and the stuff he puts out on a regular basis, usually never misses. I mean, you brought up Roku. I'm sure you saw the Weird Al movie that he put out there.
Mm-hmm.
Just amazing. Just putting a different spin on everything. So in the book, one of the lessons that I learned early in my art world, a teacher crumbled up a piece of art that I was working on and said, what's the next thing that comes to your brain, right? So it's almost, taking the world for what it is and then taking it one step further, kind of like Weird Al did with his movie. There's all these, you sit down, you expect to see this movie biopic, and then he just comes in and just takes something that's formulaic and completely flips it and makes it immensely entertaining. So I guess, going beyond the obvious, taking something that's obvious, formulaic, repetitive, and just flipping it on its head at every chance you get. Yeah, I mean, I could talk for hours, but I'll bounce it back to you. How about
the one experience that it's like, and I talked about the relationship between music and movies, is whenever I see the word eBay, his song starts playing in my head. I got it on eBay. And that's like that'll be burned in my head forever. He was truly, and he still is, a genius at taking, things that are very, scripted and flipping them on their head. So, is there any closing thoughts here as we kind of wrap things up here? I just wanted to, give you kind of the last laugh, so to speak. I just want to say I am definitely drinking the marketing supervillain Kool-Aid. All the Gen Zers and the millennials are going, who's, what's Kool-Aid got to do with it? Google Jim Jones and Kool-Aid, guys. Okay. I'm gonna leave it there with that. So, but any closing thoughts on the cult going forward?
Yeah. So a lot of people, they hear the title of the book, they're like, what the hell's with the supervillain stuff? We didn't really touch upon that. There are a lot of parallels in what, I find authentic to myself, marketing and supervillainry. But one of the big things that kind of encapsulates it for the book is if you're a small brand fighting for a market share, or you deciding to opening a new business and entering into a vertical, there's usually always a name brand in that vertical. And those name brands or super brands, they're kind of like superheroes, right? They have huge public favor. Everybody knows them by name. Everybody likes them in most cases. They have big muscles, which in marketing equates to big budgets. And for a smaller guy to go just head to head with the superhero, try to outspend them, try to get everybody to like them just as much as everyone else likes them, try to do more social media, more SEO. It's usually a recipe for disaster. And if you think about movies, the supervillain usually doesn't have gigantic muscles or all the resources in the world. They have to use their brain to outsmart the superhero. So a lot of the theories and philosophy of the book is, being a lot smarter with your intent rather than just throwing money at a problem. And if coming at it from a true challenger mentality as a supervillain would to overtake an industry. So if that sounds like you and you're struggling to chisel away at market share, there's a lot of tips in this book that can help you achieve a foothold and become the supervillain, become infamous in your industry.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I really appreciate you coming on today, Jesse. I hope we can do this again because you are an extremely fun guy, and I'm sure that we could go deep into the recesses of our brains and probably get lost in some respects. But it has definitely been a pleasure talking to you, and I wish you all the best. Again, guys, if you want to really be unique and different, you got to read Jesse's book. This really was an eye-opener for me.